Hi guys, this lecture today is going to be a bit of a weird one. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be covering asset theory and market correlation. I'm going to be cutting in here a video from my personal swing trading masterclass. It's been so popular, it's been so highly demanded, and I think it's very, very critical for everybody to understand, even at a basic level. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting that into here directly after this introduction, and you guys are going to be checking out what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting that into here directly after this introduction, and you guys are going to be checking out correlation and asset selection, and we're going to be expanding on these principles so that I can wrap up a few extra points so that by the time we reach the end of it, you'll have some more practical principles to go off. Please wait around till after the lecture is finished so that I can move on to part two. Talk to you soon.
Hello, welcome to Adam's Swing Trading Masterclass. This is unit number 3, coin selection, math versus stories. I've been looking forward to recording this one for a long time. I hope you guys enjoy this one. This may be the most important unit that we cover in the entire Swing Trading Masterclass. God, I'm looking forward to this. So, money is numbers. Math is the language of numbers. Therefore, to speak money, you must speak math. Now ask yourself, do you want to speak money? This is going to contextualize everything that we're looking at today because math is money, numbers. You're going to need to want to learn this stuff because you can't rely on narratives and stories forever like a goddamn caveman. We're intelligent investors, and I trust that if you guys come across something you don't understand, that you'll be fucked to literally learn the fucking maths because there's no other option. So what we're learning today, correlation, how everything is connected, and modern portfolio theory. We're going to look at what is the best altcoin. So, correlation first. As you may already be aware, within the cryptocurrency universe, Bitcoin is actually the slowest moving and the lowest returning cryptocurrency in the entire market during rapid pumps. For the novices, it's only logical that if you want to increase your returns, you'd start to look into them. So you start digging, excited by the prospect of an easy 10x, 1000%. So you do some surface level research and you come to me with questions like, hey Adam, thoughts on XYZ token? I heard it does this new thing that, or, but it has a better technology than this, and I'll clap back with something else, and you'll go, okay, I get it, but the project has support from this well-known coder or engineer or celebrity, blah, blah, blah. And you'll see me hitting you with this. Boom! Motherfucking correlation table. Let me hit you with this. Nothing matters except the data. This is a wake-up call. You've been lied to. You've been misled by the popular media to think that qualitative things matter. I want to remind you that nothing matters except math, which is the language of finance, and therefore it's what puts the money in your pocket. Today we're going to upgrade your reasoning. So, first of all, I just want to say to you guys that I do want to make the maximum amount of money possible. I'm autistic, not retarded. So, I do not care what XYZ token does. Your tokens may as well be called token 53 and token 54 to me. And we have no other data except their price. To me, they're all the same trashy mathematical problems waiting to be solved. And that is a problem of returns, correlation, and volatility that we can solve. So altcoin fact number 1. Fact, everything is correlated. Now, if everything is correlated, then there is no purpose in using more than one asset, unless you're employing a rebalancing strategy, which 99% of people are going to be too lazy to adhere to anyway. That includes me. Even if you did employ that strategy, risk-adjusted returns would be minimal. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to read this correlation table, because I've had a few people come to me and ask me how it works. Basically, correlation is a score that runs from +1 to -1. +1 meaning perfect correlation, where two assets move in perfect harmony together, in perfect sync, and they move in the same direction at all times. They can move at different magnitudes, but their direction is identical. If you have something that's -1, or completely uncorrelated, if this whole thing was red, then that would mean that every single altcoin moves in the opposite direction to Bitcoin at all times. And when Bitcoin goes up, the altcoins go down and vice versa. And this effect would swap over consistently. What you can see here, we'll focus on the bottom left-hand half for the moment. You can see here that the entire correlation table between all, not only Bitcoin and all these other altcoins that I have listed here. Not only that, but they're also all correlated between each other to a very high degree. There's almost no scores in this table that are below 0.5. 0.5 being very strong correlation, anything above 0.5. You can see here that Bitcoin is very strongly correlated to everything. And as you can see as well, Ethereum is the one that is the strongest correlation to Bitcoin. We'll come back to that at another point, but I want you to take note of that. This correlation matrix is from August the 4th. I did check it today as well before I did this lecture. It's basically exactly the same. Everything's the same. You can see Litecoin here. I'm not going to ignore it. It is quite strongly correlated. We'll come to that later as well. But yeah, Ethereum, again, today was the highest one on the table. On the top right-hand side of this correlation matrix, what you can see here are some lines that move above and below the midpoint of this box in here. What this signifies is the statistical significance of said correlation. So you can see that the statistical significance of all of these different correlations is quite high, which means the reliability of the correlations are quite strong. You can see here that Ethereum, for example, is squeezed right up against the top edge of the box here, above the midway point, which means that it's a very significant correlation. If this was high, if we had a high number, 0.85, and the significance was below the midway line, it was down here, that would be a clear indication that we can't take this number seriously, and that none of these correlations are very strong or persistent or reliable. You can see here, though, that the entire right-hand side of the table of the matrix is full of very significant readings. This screams to me highly correlated market. This is a matrix that I have been following for a long time, for years, and I have never seen the market really become very uncorrelated, except for maybe in speculative peaks. It's super, super rare to have the entire market become uncorrelated at any point in time. 99% of the time, it's going to be highly correlated. So, should be number 2. Moving on to modern portfolio theory. Altcoin fact number 2. Searching for alts is useless. Now, I'm not in it for the tech or the story. I have no morals. I'm here to make money. You should be too. Using financial mathematics, we can literally calculate the single best altcoin to invest in, since the entire market is correlated. No one else on the planet will ever teach you what I'm about to teach you, because everyone's stupid. So, we're going to spend a bit of time on this one. This is modern portfolio theory. This is essentially the holy grail of asset selection. And we're going to move through it one step at a time. You can see that on the two axes, we have expected return and we have standard deviation. Standard deviation, for those who do not know what this is, means variability in the price returns. Therefore, if you have a high standard deviation, there's a lot of variability in the price. If you have a low standard deviation, there is not much variability in price. The holy grail of any asset would be to have the maximum amount of return for the minimum amount of variation. Variation in returns is risk in financial terms. So what we want is something that's all the way over here and all the way up here. We want something up here. This would be the ultimate asset. You would receive insane returns with no risk. Obviously, the market doesn't work like this. Often we receive very low returns and very high risks in things that are gambles. Now, as you can see, we have approximated, I've just thrown these in here approximately. I can hear people screeching in the general chat already. I've just placed some random assets on this chart here to show you approximately where I believe certain assets lie. We have the largest of the large caps, which have very low standard deviation, but also the expected return isn't super high. And you can see that we have a general drift up here. General drift up to represent that even though you're taking on higher risk as you go further out to the right-hand side, you're also taking on higher expected returns. As of the time of recording this video, somebody paid $100,000 for a rock as an NFT on the Ethereum blockchain. Insane. And also super speculative. So what we can see here is that we have all the individual assets. What we can do is we can actually combine these different assets into portfolios, and as we combine them, some portfolios will exist down here in the cloud of different assets, but sometimes when we combine these assets together, they actually work better together, and they work synergistically to actually increase returns and reduce risk at the same time. If you perform this experiment and you take all the different cryptocurrencies that you can possibly buy and you put them into a supercomputer and crunch all the different numbers and you run a whole bunch of different simulations, you'll end up with, thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of different portfolios. And what you'll find is they form a cluster against this thing here called the efficient frontier that no combination of assets can exist beyond. It is called the frontier because nothing exists outside here. Despite the crunching of all the different assets in portfolios, it doesn't matter how many experiments you run, nothing can ever go past the efficient frontier. If you were to have a portfolio, you would want a portfolio on the efficient frontier so you could select from the optimal returns for any given measure of risk. So, that is the first step of modern portfolio theory, which is to say that what you want to do is you want to combine assets to form a portfolio so that you don't want to be taking on unnecessary amounts of risk. But remember that the entire market is correlated. So there's very little added benefit in taking additional assets into a portfolio and mixing them together. Really, it would be more effort than it's worth. So what you want to do, Jesus Christ, what you want to do is you want to try and find the asset that's closest to the efficient frontier, or the assets that are closest to the efficient frontier. If you want to take on more return, you may want to take on some Cardano over here and be like, well, no asset exists over here, but ADA is the closest one to the efficient frontier, so I want to buy this one. Or maybe NFTs are the closest to the efficient frontier over here, and there's no point in combining any other assets, so you'd select that one. But what we want to introduce here is the risk-free rate. This is the interest rate that you borrow money at or loan money at. This is essentially the cash rate. So what we do is say, if this is